Welcome to Mom Boss Central. I'm your host, Alexia Hoffman. This podcast is where entrepreneurial moms like you and me come together for real and raw conversations filled with practical tips, genuine stories, and a whole lot of girl power. But it's not just about listening, it's about building a community. If you haven't already, make sure to join at mombosscentral.com. So whether you're sipping on a cup of coffee, pouring yourself a glass of wine, or tuning in on the go, get ready to join the conversation and become part of our supportive Mom Boss Central community. Dr. LaChelle, welcome to the show. I am so happy to have you on. Thank you for being here. Will you introduce yourself to the audience?
Oh my goodness, Alexa. It's so fun to be here with another boss mom, right? Like we're trying to make the world a better place for ourselves, for our kids, and I just love it. So yeah, I am Dr. LaChelle Wieme, and I have a formal education in anesthesia. I have my doctorate in anesthesia practice. And about 7 years ago, I had this entrepreneurial bug bite me, and I have been on a mission ever since to not only make myself the best version that I can be, but also helping other people discover what makes them just light up, whatever they are put on this planet to do, and to feel like they have been proving to themselves everything they're capable of. And that's really my journey after a few years of doing that alongside of my full-time job and being mom and wife. I stepped away from my 20-year anesthesia career to be a full-time business owner, and it's been a wild freaking ride, let me tell you.
Yeah.
But it's been fun to help other people learn from my setbacks, from things that has taken me a little bit longer to learn myself, so that I can help other moms create the life that they want, to be able to do it faster, to make more money faster, to make more impact faster, and ultimately to create more time, right? Because that's what we want. We want to be able to do what we want when we want, right?
Yeah, definitely. That's amazing. So tell me about your family and your business and when your business got started, how old your kids are. Give me the rundown.
Yes. Oh my goodness. So I right now currently have a new driver. He's 15-year-old boy. Just the love of my life. He's such a sweet kid. And then I have an 11-year-old daughter who is she's like a mini me. So it's been so much fun watching those two grow. And like I mentioned, it's been almost 7 years. So I was working what I considered at the time, Alexa, my full-time career was my dream job. I had wanted to become a nurse anesthetist and then a professor for our doctor of nurse anesthesia program. That was like the pinnacle of what I wanted to do professionally. And I got there and I'm like, yeah, something's still missing. Like what's going on? And I started my first online business. And that is when I really felt like my world went from black and white to color. And I can explain that now that I know differently. I realized, going back to my ambition as a professional woman, and this is my journey, right? But recognizing that I was chasing my own worth. It's like I did not feel good inside. I didn't feel like I was good enough. I felt like I always had something to prove. And so I'd get another degree and climb that ladder. And here I was, the mom, right? That was like tearing into the daycare center at like 1 minute to close, hoping they weren't going to charge me for it. And I just realized that that's not what I wanted, but I also knew that I'm a better mom when I have an outlet for my professionalism, that I want to be challenged and fulfilled. And when I started my first online business, I felt like it was the first glimpse into what I call the and life, meaning that I can find a way to be challenged and fulfilled and make a difference in the world and be a more present mom and wife. And that is what really led me on this whole journey. And it was in that journey that I discovered the truth, right? The truth is, holy crap, I was really chasing my worth. The truth is that I'm already worthy. And it was the entrepreneurial journey that led me to that insight. It's like personal development with a paycheck, don't you think?
Yeah, definitely. That's huge.
And so I just feel like that's been the ride, and recognizing that I get to be a better role model for my daughter and for my son, and teach them what it's like to take risks, and to teach them what it's like to go after your dreams, and to work hard, and to trust God, and to make it happen. And so that's kind of how all that started.
That is amazing. That is so cool. And I love that you talked about the and life to do both, because I think that's so huge for us as moms to acknowledge that we can and we should have both. I think we're the best
Yeah.
version of ourselves when we have both. And I think the narrative sometimes can feel like it's selfish or wrong, but really when you look at it, like you said, it's like that self discovery that we find through our business and that outlet that we
Yeah.
have is what gives us the ability to be the mom that we want to be for our kids and to show them the life that they're dreaming of is possible as well. So I think
Yes.
that's so huge.
It's so huge. I mean, one of the exercises that I do with my clients is to ask them, like, what did you want to be when you were little, right? And how many of us did not pursue that, but we want better for our daughters or our
Yeah.
sons, like whatever
Yeah.
they want to be as they're little. I'm like, I want to encourage that, but why is it okay for them and not for me? You think
Yeah.
about relationships. It's like, okay, my relationship that I have with myself or my spouse or whatever, it's like, do I wish that on my kids?
Mm-hmm.
If the answer is
Exactly.
no, then it is not good enough for you. It's not good enough for me, because my
Yeah.
best way to teach my kids is to model for them what a strong woman does, to
Yep.
model for them what self-love is, to model for them how I can give out of an outpouring of who I am instead of a need and a codependency to have to prove something to myself, right? And I
Yeah.
think that that's the best way for us to do that. I used to feel, like you said, guilty. I remember going on a walk with my mother-in-law at the time. She's such a beautiful person. So this is not a reflection of anything other than that was just the generational, space that she was in, as well as just her own value system. And she's like, oh, I'm really glad that I stayed home with the kids. And I used to think there was something wrong with me, that I
Mm.
didn't want to do that. And I feel like once I found the and life, once I found the way that I get to choose both, it made me feel whole, because I'm like, oh my gosh, like I wasn't
Yeah.
missing out on anything. And definitely there
Yeah.
were times, right, where I was out of balance, out of sync, and I figured out some ways to make that better.
Yeah.
But for me, I know that I'm a better mom because I have an outlet. I know that I am a better business owner because I have, you know, a why that drives
Mm-hmm.
me, right, with my kids and my
Exactly.
husband. And so all of it fits perfectly well together, but I had to be able to accept that this is my journey and I get to choose what my journey is. So
Yeah, I love that. I think what you said too about like how we show up and the life that we want our kids to have has been such a driving force for me as well. I think the boundaries that I've set in my life that, maybe before weren't so strong. I wasn't as strong in those boundaries. I have felt like this need to be just really like stand up for myself, because I'm thinking like, what am I showing my kids? Like right
right.
now, obviously they're so little, they don't know, but like I need to work the muscle that is setting boundaries and expecting better for myself now. So by the time they're old enough to see what's going on, they
Yeah.
can know that like, oh, mom stood up for herself. She, took the initiative to do whatever it is, whether it's eliminating toxic relationships, whether it's starting a business, any of those things, like to show them what I'm willing to tolerate so that they can like set the same standards for themselves, because I think that's
Yes,
huge.
absolutely. And I think that so oftentimes we think of business and our personal life as separate. But when I have my good business going, I'm better personally. I have good personal life,
Yes.
my
A
business is better,
hundred
right? So
percent.
so
Yep.
they feed off of one another. And one of the things that I have found, and this is part of my process that I take people through. I have 7 core C's, is what I call them, that are solid foundations for massive success. My whole program is all about massive forward momentum with ease and flow. And
Mm-hmm.
when we recognize the subconscious beliefs that are the drivers behind what we are doing, what we're not doing, it really does impact the way that we show up. And when it comes to being a mom, I think that it's important that we understand that for ourselves, but also how it's impacting our kids, because a lot
Yeah.
of people don't realize that the subconscious beliefs that we hold, most of them were actually formed before we're 7 years old.
Wow. That is crazy.
And so, can I give you an example? And
Yes,
this is
please.
an example, not to say, oh crap, like I'm going to ruin my kids. This is an example of there's nothing wrong with you if this is something that you're dealing with. But once we know better, we can do better, and we can make
Yeah.
it a slightly better situation for our kids. So I wrote about this in my book, and this would be an example, right? So my mom, she got married when she was 20. She had me when she was 21. By the time she was 25, she had 3 kids under the age of 5. Like, I cannot imagine, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we lived out on the farm. My dad was a farmer, and it was in the middle of nowhere. And so, like, I can't imagine just how hard life was with her basically having to raise the 3 of us on her own with my dad working so much.
Yeah.
And I want you to imagine that we had to go to the grocery store, and it was a 30-minute drive one way. So she packs up 3 kids under 5, takes us 30 minutes to town.
Mm-hmm.
Going through the grocery store with 3 little kids got to be exhausting, right? So
Yeah.
imagine that. She gets up to the counter. Now, this is the 1980s, so she's getting out her checkbook, right?
Mm-hmm.
And she's gonna pay. And I'm sure that money was tight, so it was stressful enough. And I'm sure that it was hard to do all of the things that she needed to do with the 3 of us. And knowing that she had to, unload and reload and all the things, it was probably a really stressful situation. So if you can
Yeah.
imagine me as the oldest at 5 years old at the counter saying, Mom, 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 Mom,
Yeah.
because the candy is perfectly placed at my eye level,
Yeah. Oh,
And
yeah.
I'm sure that in her, like, just natural exacerbation of the situation, she's like, no, like, you do not deserve that. Like, you have not
Yeah.
been a good girl. Because I was probably restless and, running around and doing all the
Yeah.
things. And so when you're a kid, your subconscious can only accept, it cannot reject. And
Mm.
so you're told something, and then it, through emotion, goes into your subconscious and it forms a belief. And a belief is
Wow.
basically what we think about the world and how we fit in it. Okay. So my little brain is developed enough to be able to accept that, but doesn't have enough brain power to have context around it. So my little tiny 5-year-old brain can't say, Mom is just really overwhelmed.
Yeah.
My sister was crying the whole time and she just wanted us to get out of here. That's not what my
Yeah.
brain, knew how to look at it. So my brain says, okay, I am not a good girl. So I need to start doing people pleasing activities
Mm.
in order to be a good girl. My little
Wow.
brain says, I don't deserve that, or I don't deserve nice things. And therefore now I'm an adult and I struggle charging for my services, or I struggle
Mm.
accepting help from others, or I have codependent, behaviors and people pleasing because I am trying to prove my worth. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah.
And
That's,
so it's
just
like
so insightful.
yeah. And so it's like when we know that, we can start to accept, like, okay, maybe there's nothing wrong with me. And I'm just a normal person that had
Yeah.
normal things happen to me. But it also helps us to recognize, like, gosh, how can I really empower my kids? How can I make
Yeah.
them benefit from all the personal development that I've learned by becoming
Yeah.
a business owner, so that I can
Exactly.
make this learning curve a little less steep for them, right?
Definitely. Yeah. I love that you shared that story. And I think that's so interesting because, that you could tie it to that one experience and you could say, I can see where this happened and it resulted in me thinking like this. Like, I think that's just so
Yeah.
impactful as, someone who has struggled with a lot of the things that you spoke about. I have a really hard time remembering a lot of my childhood. So, talk me through what would be a good spot for me to start if I don't have a specific memory, but I want to work through some of that. What advice do you have?
Yeah. Yeah, so I did take my clients through a kind of a one-on-one session to help to explore these memories that are hidden, but I use things that are different.
Mm.
I have a very unique secret sauce of quantum physics, brain science, and scripture. So I
Wow.
utilize my connection to higher power with the sustainable things that we can use with brain science and quantum physics. And so one of the things that I would do is have you tap into a feeling that you're having, right? So
Mm.
maybe we're talking about, you're afraid to charge people for your services. I get that a lot. People have money mindset blocks,
Mm.
right? But we're like, where the heck did this come from? Or I had a client the other day who we were talking, and she's like, gosh, I really have this block on receiving. She's like,
Mm.
receiving help, receiving money. Like, if there was a block with that, but she's
Yeah.
kind of the same thing. She's like, oh my gosh, I don't know where this came from.
Yeah.
And so I had her just focus on where the feeling was, and the feeling in her body, because people don't realize it, but because our thoughts and our feelings are energy, If those thoughts and feelings aren't processed adequately, they can become stuck as kind of wadded up balls of energy inside of our body.
Wow.
Interesting. And so
Yeah.
if I were to ask you to think about something that upset you, most people, if you were kind of giving yourself some space, can say, yep, I feel it in my stomach, or I feel it in my chest, or I feel it in my throat or my shoulders or the back of my head. So I have them focus on where they feel it.
Mm-hmm.
And then I just ask them, I want you to think back at a time that you remember feeling that same way,
Okay. Wow.
right?
Yeah.
And that allows sometimes for that memory to present itself. Sometimes people are still stuck, right? Like our
Mm-hmm.
body and our subconscious tries to protect ourselves. And so this is where I bring in kind of my spirituality. I'm like, this is where I ask our higher power to join
Yeah.
us on this journey and to safely reveal the things that
Yeah.
we have to remember. And it was so fascinating because in this process that I took her through, she was able to come up with this core memory of being a kid, and a baby that was next to her fell off of a table or a couch or something, and she got blamed for it.
Oh my
And
gosh. Wow.
she's, like, I didn't touch the baby, but everybody's like, well, how did you let this happen or whatever? And so
Yeah.
she picked up at that moment a belief that she is responsible for everybody around her.
Wow. That's amazing that you were
And our
able to help
beliefs
her
are
find that.
literally like, yes, and our beliefs are really just the lens in which you will see the world, which is so
Yeah.
interesting. Like our belief again is how we see the world and is how we fit in the world. And our
Yeah.
brain, this is brain science stuff. Our brain is not, you don't believe what you see. Is
Mm.
actually you see what you believe. Your brain will
Mm.
only look for things in the outside world that will prove itself right. Okay.
Yeah.
So over
Yeah.
time, she had a belief that she was responsible for everybody else. And then in her outside world, things would present as evidence of that, to
Yeah.
where that was just an ingrained way that the world was, right?
Yeah.
And so, of course, she had a hard time receiving because she had been so indoctrined to think that she was responsible for everybody else, that she couldn't possibly have somebody else be responsible for her.
Yeah. That's amazing that you're able to
Yeah.
discover that, because I think that is such a huge thing that I've dealt with too, is like, I know I have these issues, right? Whatever they may be, right? Struggling with certain things, but trying to figure out where they're
Yeah.
coming from can feel so hard.
Mm-hmm.
And so I love how
Yeah.
help people get there and guide them to feel comfortable to get to that
Yeah.
space and take the time to uncover it, and then to really like unload and unpack what that actual memory means for us and how it connects to what we're feeling now. And yeah, I just think the work you're doing is really inspiring and just so good.
Yeah. Thanks. Yeah.
Talk
I
to me
mean, I
about,
think as,
oh, sorry,
no, I
go
was just
ahead.
going to say, like, being a mom, I think being a mom and doing this work, it's just like, how can we make this next generation even healthier
Yeah.
than the way we were? Anyway, so what were you going to
Yeah.
ask? Sorry.
No, I think that's huge. I think that is such a big thing. And I talk about that so much with like my husband as well, as like we are given a set of resources unlike any other generation before. I scroll on Instagram and what do I
Yeah.
see? Parenting tips, mom tips, how to be a better wife,
Yeah.
how to be a better business owner, how to talk to my kids better, how to potty train better. I mean, you name it, it's there right at my fingertips. I'm not even looking for it and I'm seeing it. Where I think about our parents and they didn't know better. I mean, they really just didn't have the same opportunities to have the conversations that we do. They didn't have the access to resources like we do. I mean, I'm sure there was parenting
Right.
books, but I
Yeah.
don't even I listen to Audible in my car. I don't sit down and read a book very often, but
I
I
know.
have all of
Yeah.
those
Yeah.
resources, so available to me. And so I think to fully, utilize that to be better for our kids is just huge. And I think it's
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
so special that we get to kind of learn on this journey together to be better for them and to be we call it a
Yeah.
transitional generation in our family.
Absolutely. And one thing can I piggyback off of that thought,
Yeah.
is that one of the things that I see a lot of my clients, like especially high level clients, even that they've like built like 7-figure businesses,
Mm-hmm.
still struggle with making important decisions sometimes. And what
Mm-hmm.
I have found is that there's a correlation between people having an inability to make a decision when they were little they weren't allowed to make decisions, or they were taught that they, had to rely on somebody else to tell them what to do instead of having the empowerment to make small decisions. And so
Yeah.
therefore, subconsciously, they don't trust their own discernment. And when you talk about all of the resources that we have available to
Yeah.
us, right? It's like, it's so easy to say, well, I'm just going to read one more book, one more Instagram post. I'm going to listen to one more podcast, and then I'll know what to do, instead of recognizing that you already have it within you.
Yeah.
Like, I believe
Yeah.
so much in my theology that, like, my higher power, my higher self, I have access to anytime I want to, and I can trust that I already know the answers within me. And I think
Yeah.
that when we have so many resources, and when we're talked to in a way when we're little to question whether or not we have the ability to make decisions, it can really keep us stuck in a space
Yeah.
of confusion and indecision. And so it's like, yeah, we have all of these resources, and
Yeah.
we have the power to
And
make this decision on our own, even without them,
exactly.
right?
Exactly.
And I
That's the
just love the
thing.
and life, right? And so having
Yeah.
your kids make little decisions here and there is going to help them to build those muscles and that confidence to say, I got this. Like, I don't need
Yeah.
all of that. Like, it's just a bonus. So
Definitely. Yeah, I love that you shared that. I think that's huge and definitely something to kind of juggle within this, information decade that we live in, of just so much to consume, and then at some point to trust what we've consumed and do the best that we can, because I think that's, the other part of it is we're all doing the best we can. And, I think if we
absolutely.
have the intention of acting with love and with, the desire to show up the best version of ourselves for our kids, for our spouses, for our businesses, I think that just that intention is a huge piece of the puzzle that we don't give ourselves enough credit for as moms. I think, it's one of those
Yes.
things that is so easily overlooked, all the little things that we do and, where our heart's at, even if we don't always get it right, that we're here, we're showing up, we're trying. I mean, if you're listening to this podcast, you're trying to be a better mom, you're trying to be a better business owner, right? Like, that's why we're all consuming what we
Yeah.
consume and reading what we read and doing what we do. And I think that just, it's so easy to look at our failures and flaws and say, okay, I'm struggling. But it's like, if you flip that and say, I'm doing so much good, there's so much good. I think that that's a huge piece of it. So, yeah, I love
Absolutely.
everything
100%.
that you're sharing with that. So talk to me about how you landed in this space. I mean, how did you go from anesthesiology, you said online business, and now you're here kicking butt and taking names, talking about all the things that happen in our mind. So give me the breakdown of how you landed
Oh
here.
my gosh. I think that part of it is just I'm a nerd. And so, like, I learn stuff and I'm like, but why does that work that way? Like, I want to
Yeah.
know, like, is it just fucking BS that they're feeding me, or is there science behind it? And so
Yeah.
I think that that's really where it started. Building that online business initially really did force me into some massive personal development. Like, Alexa, I will tell you that, again, my professional ambitions were subconsciously to prove my own worth, right?
Mm-hmm.
And here I was, like, in my first online business space and facing rejection on purpose on the daily. Like, holy crap, right? Like,
Yeah.
that was
Yeah.
terrifying. And that's actually why my kids will automatically, like, they already know they're going to get some type of a sales job eventually, because it teaches us resiliency and
Yeah.
rejection and communication and how to read people. Like, these are like life lessons, right?
Yeah.
But I think that it was just like, when I was just learning and evolving, and the more that I would learn, the more I wanted to know more about it, and the more people would ask me, like, LaChelle, how is it that you're doing what you're doing? I mean, when I started that first online business, I was in the top 2% of the company's pay plan within 9-10 months. And
Wow.
people were
That's
like, how are
amazing.
you doing that? And when I went from, like, being a super super introverted, awkward, like, I had 200 friends on Facebook. If I didn't know your mom, you didn't know my business, kind of thing. And having to, like, face that rejection over and over again, and they saw such growth in me that I think they wanted to know, like, what was I doing and how was I doing it.
Yeah.
And I also, with my academic and professional career, I did a lot of research. And so one of the the giftings that I was able to come from that experience was doing quantitative and qualitative research. I could see themes in things. And I
Wow.
was noticing that success really did follow a pattern, and that
Yeah.
people that were successful were doing certain things. People that were struggling were missing certain things or allowing certain things to win. And I just became fascinated by that. And now it's so funny because I have people in so many different industries. I have coaches and physical therapists and realtors and network marketers. And I mean, anybody who wants to grow, especially in the online space. But the foundational things, the themes that I've noticed are consistent no matter what. And I think that that's what's been so fun, is that allowing all of the pieces of my life puzzle to come
Yeah.
together to formulate where I'm supposed to be. Like, nothing
Yeah.
is wasted, you guys. If you feel like you're not in the right space, like, it will be a piece of your puzzle if you allow it to be. And it's like, some people are like, gosh, LaChelle, you went to school for a long time and now you're, don't even like, I do anesthesia once a month just because I like doing it. And
Yeah.
I help out a small immigrant, hospital because I love it, but it's like, that's not where I'm going. And it's like, everything that we do can be perfectly put together precisely the way that it's supposed to. And so
Yeah.
that's what I want people to just understand, is that none of your experiences are wasted. And what skills do you have? What experiences do you have? How can you help people who are one or two steps behind where you are get to where you
Yeah.
are? And I think that that's where a lot of
Yeah.
people come in, is like, oh my gosh, like, I don't know if I'm qualified, or I don't have the experience, or I don't have this degree, or I don't have all the fancy. And it's like, you don't have to.
Yeah.
You start with where
Yeah.
you're at, with what you have, and help the person two steps behind you.
I want to give you like an amen. I want to like give you a church choir, like amen, hallelujah in there. Cause I think that is just like so perfect a summary of what I like preach to, like what I've been living by too. Because I feel like it's
Yeah.
so easy to look back a few years and say, oh my gosh, where was I going? Why was I doing that? Like it didn't make sense. And now once I'm here in this space, it's like, oh, I see where it all makes sense, right? Like I had to go through that. I had to learn that. I had to start that business. I had to fail there to make it to where I am today. And it all makes sense now. But when you're in that season, it's like, what the heck am I doing? And it's so frustrating sometimes.
Yeah.
So I love that you shared that, because I think that is just like any entrepreneur, anyone with an entrepreneurial mindset just needs to keep that in mind when they're in the trenches, because we all go through it. We all get to a place. I mean, if you're growing, you're going to fail. Like that's just how it goes. If you're moving forward, there's going to be bumps in the road, but that means you're moving, it means you're not just sitting stagnant. So if you're in that season and you're listening, right, like keep going. You're going somewhere that matters, and it's going to all make sense
Yes.
at some point. So I love that you shared that. That's amazing.
100%. Like, and that's the whole point, Alexa, is that like my business, my like signature program is called Spiral Up, right? And I want to, it's basically success in motion. Like I want people to have massive forward momentum in their business. That doesn't mean that we don't have moments of downward spiral.
Yeah.
All of us do. I don't care if you're making 7 figures or if you haven't started your business yet. There are
Yeah.
things like comparison, or, you get rejected, or, you have a little bit of confusion. Like it can cause you to start to downward spiral. What I want you guys to all understand is that that happens to all of us.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
what your goal is to catch yourself in the downward spiral so that you can stop and then redirect yourself to spiral back up. And so yes, it's going to sometimes feel like you're taking 3 steps forward, 2 steps back. But the point is that as long as you're continuing to make some forward momentum, you're going to get to go where you need to go. And
Yeah.
it's by catching yourself. It's by acknowledging like, okay, yeah, I totally faced this imposter syndrome before, but look at how much more I've learned from the last time. And I'm going to be able to catch it, and I'm going to be able to redirect it even faster. And then I'll be able to get back on my feet again. Right. And so we are so freaking hard on ourselves, and we compare ourselves to people when really, if I want you guys to think about this, like you aren't going to remember when you're at step 15, what it was like to be at step 2. The
Yep.
best people to help the people at step 2 are the people at step 3 and 4 because it's fresh in your mind. So
Yeah.
it's just like grab a sister by the arm and drag her along with you. And that's,
Yes.
don't negate what you know. It's, you don't have to have all the fancy. You just help the people who are right behind you, and it's going to help with all the forward momentum for sure.
Yes. Oh my gosh. LaChelle, that's amazing. You are so great. I have loved this conversation. You're so fun. I love your energy and I love all the work you're doing. I just think it's so impactful and so integral for entrepreneurs and moms to keep in mind when they're on their journey, no matter what part of their journey they're at. You know, what you're sharing is just so relevant. So for the listeners that want to connect with you and learn more about what you offer, where can they find you? Tell me about your services. I know you mentioned your program, but give us the full rundown.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, of course. So I try to keep everything really simple. I'm branded as I branded as LaChelle Wieme. And so you can find me at LaChelleWieme.com, on LaChelle Wieme Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, LinkedIn, I don't know, TikTok, like all the things, right? So just find me by my name. And yeah, so that's kind of the main thing. What I want to do is give you guys all some hope, right? Like I'm a hope dealer. That's what I want to be. I want to help you understand that you are freaking more capable than you ever realize. And what I'm finding is that it doesn't matter what industry you're in. It doesn't matter if you have tried this strategy or that strategy. It's really just working on those fundamental things inside of you that are going to help any strategy work. And oftentimes what happens is we don't get results. And so we're like, okay, well, I just need to get a new script, or I just need to get this new, client relations manager, or I just need to get this new program. And then we find the same thing keeping happening. And so what I want to do is just to remind you guys that there are some very core things that are going to carry you and your modeling for your family over and over again. And that's really what I specialize in. It's, I can teach you business strategy all day long, but it's who you are underneath that's executing it, that's going to determine whether you're successful or not. And so if you are like kind of wondering like, gosh, do I have some of those blocks? Do I have some of the things that are preventing me from getting where I want to go? I would love for you to go to my website. So LaChelleWieme.com. I have a quiz on there that will help you to determine like where some of the areas that you're self-sabotaging, and then what you can do to get yourself out of that hole and back spiraling up again. So I want to make sure that you guys know that you have that resource from me. I talk a lot about it inside of my book called Get Out of God's Way. Get over yourself and step into the life and business He has in store for you. And I have a Spiral Up podcast that's also really fun, just to keep people in massive forward momentum.
So amazing. Oh my goodness. Well, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for being part of the community. I will link the quiz in the show notes, as well as all your links and your website. So I'm sure our listeners would love to connect with you. And I'm just so excited to have you as part of the community. I think you're an amazing resource to women and business owners everywhere. So thank you for being here. Thank you for everything that you shared. And yeah, thank you for the work you're doing.
Thanks, you too, Alexa. It's so fun to be here. Bye, everybody.
That was awesome. Thank you so much.
Yay.
Yeah, so great.
Yeah, you're welcome. I hope that was serving your clients.
Yeah, so good. I loved it. I hope it was good for you too. And yeah, really love the work that you're doing.
It's so fun.
Yeah, so cool. Well, thank you.
Congratulations on your growing family. And I'm so glad I got to meet you today.
Yeah, you too. We'll send you an email once we have your release date, and then like a little sneak peek clip if you want to share on social. And then once it's launched, we'll tag you as well. So awesome.
Very good, Alexa. Thank you so much. Have a great day.
Have a good day. Bye. Thanks for joining us on this episode of Mom Boss Central. I hope you found inspiration, encouragement, and maybe even a few new strategies to rock your mom boss journey. Remember, you're not alone. We're all in this together. And don't forget to share the love with your fellow mom bosses. Make sure to join the community at mombosscentral.com. It's completely free and a space to connect with like-minded women. All you have to do is sign up and start connecting. Until next time, keep pursuing your passions and living authentically. We're so happy to have you as part of the Mom Boss Central community.